Okay, so we can start now that she's ready to update her work to you, I think, because last time we have a short time for her. So this time you request that maybe she will be the first.
Yes, she has to go first so that yeah, we have more time. Okay, Atha, nice to hear from you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
Okay. Can you see my slide? Okay. As we mentioned last time, our instrumentation in my work is including the zero YMG, the phosphate, the PIDA system, and IMU sensor, and the other one is two video camera. So I analyze the data about the IMU sensor together with the PIDA system right now. Okay, from our last time that we discussed about the percentage of gait cycle, this is the data from the gyroscope compared to the PIDA system. So as you see, is the time from the gyroscope is going through the same way to the PIDA system, and there are no significant difference between two systems. Yeah, and for analysis processing right now, after I got the data from the gyroscope signal, as we attach the gyroscope to the lateral side above the malleolus. Yeah, so after that, I do the data segmentation to the stand and swing phase, and after that I filter the data by using the second order low pass butterworth filter and cutoff frequency of 3 Hz. And after that, I use the IMF for analyze the data. So this is the signal after filtering. On the left side is the signal from normal person. Yeah, and the right side is the signal from the patient. And this one, if we compare the signal between left and right side in normal person, yeah, and this is the example from the patient. If we compare between left and right side, this is on the left is affected side, yeah, and the right one is the non-affected side. So right now I got the RMS of the overall everyone, as you can see. This is compare between left and right side of the normal person. And this is from the affected and non-affected side of the stroke patient. And so if we compare between the IMS of between two groups, there were no significant difference between both sides in the same group. For example, the left and right side in normal person and affected and non-affected side in the patient, but it's a significant difference if you compare between the IMS of normal, even left or right, and to the affected and non-affected side in the patient.
All right, Ta, so it's just a quick one. So you're saying that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, right. So you're saying that there's a significant difference between the patient on the affected and non-affected, right? In this particular slide, is it? Yes, right. Okay, right. So I thought then you would need to put the asterisk, right? So that at least we know that there's a significant difference. So there is a significant difference, right? Because that's what I hear from you. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, can understand. Go ahead, continue.
Yes, that's all. Yes, this one.
Sorry.
That's all.
Oh, okay, understand. All right. So I mean, well, of course, you see, this is only the prelim results that you have analyzed, right? Can I say that? So can you go back again? What are the different parameters of what? I mean, the different responses that you're going to analyze. So you talk about the angular velocity, right? Besides that, any other things?
Can you say again?
Okay. So in terms of the result or in terms of the responses, you only look at the angular velocity.
Yeah, we look
Any
at the
other?
angular velocity.
Okay. So maybe you can just pitch up so that I can just go through the slide again. So that means you have the RMS, and this one is
IMS, right?
so that just yeah, okay. So for this one, like slide 26.
For each subject.
Yeah, this is for the different subjects, right? So I thought that it's always good to, in terms of your axis, label them clearly as well. So what is your vertical axis?
Yeah.
Right. So because you
Right.
talk about 120, you talk about 160, 180, and when you look into the stroke patients, so I in a way please label it clearly, right? Whether is it like angular velocity and what are the units? Okay. And so can I go pitch up? Yeah, okay. So this one at least, in terms of this is the degree per second, right? So this is the angular velocity, right? Okay. All right. The gyro left and right. All right. Okay. Can pitch up. And so this one, same thing, in terms of your axis, in a way, this is also angular velocity, right? Angular velocity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Pitch up some more. Right. This one. Okay. Some pitch up. This is the okay. So this is the percentage of gait. So you look at it is the same and all right. Okay. Sorry, just pitch up. Okay. So if that's the case, I think you started with this slide onwards, right? Your sharing. I guess maybe your earlier one is all those background and introduction. Can I ask? I thought the last time that we discussed, or maybe ask, how many kind of like results, how many outcomes do you intend to study? Is it only angular velocity?
So you mean the parameters, right? That's one
Yeah,
that
correct.
we
The
would like to
parameters.
see.
Correct. So in terms, what are your output? What are your results besides angular velocity? What other parameters you are looking at?
Right now, I try to analyze for the other parameter such as the area under the curve.
The area under even the area under the curve, it is still angular velocity, right? So I'm just thinking, because you see, what you're seeing is that you are using a lot of I see equipment, right? You use the EMG, you use the force plate, of course you use the IMU sensor and the video camera. So in a way, I thought that the instrument is actually very complete. So that means, then what are the parameters that you're looking at? Are you only just looking at angular velocity? What other output are you looking?
For the other?
I mean for your study, because you recruited healthy subjects and stroke patients, right? So what
Yes.
other parameters are you looking at?
มีพารามิเตอร์ตัวไหนบ้างที่เราดูในงานศึกษาของเรา
If we focus on the IMU sensor, which can describe by the accelerometer and the gyroscope. So right now I first analyze the data from the gyroscope first, and after this I try to analyze the data from the accelerometer for calculating the spatiotemporal parameter, such as the stride time or the time which can which can calculate from the accelerometer.
Right, I mean the time or the duration taken, is it? So the time for the so what is the time that you're taking? You mean between the sun's phase and the swing phase, or is it the time of the entire gait cycle? Because you mentioned about time, you see. So what time are you going to measure?
Stand time, swing time, and for the other parameters.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so I guess I mean you probably have to explain it when you talk about time. There can be a lot of different kind of like measurements, like whether the temporal measurements, whether is it swing time, phase, I mean stance phase and a swing phase. All these things in a way probably good to be kind of more specific. All right, yeah. So that is for your IMU, and you are going to compare with the PIDA. All right. Okay. What else are you going to look into? What are your future plans?
Future plans.
I apply to calculate the other parameters such as the maybe the velocity or something, and next we will compare and match some data that can described by the IMU sensor together with the PIDA system.
Okay, all right, I see. How about those kind of like so that one is okay, because you really wanted to understand, you really wanted to kind of develop a wearable sensor, right, which is IMU based, right, so that it can use probably, I guess, not only limited to the lab setting, it can be used kind of, let's say, for outdoor or in external usage, right? So in your studies, you put in the EMGs also. Are you doing any analysis on the EMGs?
Okay, Desmond, I will give the overview of the project again for this work. Actually, Ta and Nut, they work together, right?
Okay, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
So
I see, understand.
yeah, the big project is how can we make the feedback system, for rehabilitation for the stroke patients. Yeah. So that's why we put 3 sensors. The first one is the insole, right? That is a PIDA.
Yes.
The second one is a EMG, the wireless EMG, and the third one is IMU. So we wanted to see which sensor is the best, or it needs the combination of sensor in order to make the feedback system more practical for the stroke patients. So that's why now they are doing which sensor is suitable for detecting and feedback, used to feedback the patients.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, so that's Nut, she analyzed for the EMG, and Ta, she analyzed for the IMU. But both of them also compare with the PIDA, because we think the PIDA might be the reference tools. Yeah, because it's like a gold standard that that the gait analysis work based on the plantar pressure, right? Something like that. But IMU is not based on that. So that's why both of them use PIDA as a reference. So at the beginning, I think that she would like to see the data from gyroscope. That is the one of the embedded system in the IMU, right? And the other one is accelerometer.
Yes.
So the first parameter is the angular velocity. That is the output from the IMU that we can get by directly. No need to do anything. Yeah. So that's why she used that one to look at the IMS. Yeah, for the angular velocity. But as she planned, I think she planned to look at the area under the curve. That means it should be the angle, right? Because if we integrate the graph to get the area, it will become the angle or angular motion, the angle, right? So maybe, or maybe we call some kind like a range of motion, something like that, ROM.
Right. Okay.
for
Yes. The range of
ankle.
motion.
Yeah, and
I see.
maybe she will look at the accelerometer also in the same way, because
Yes.
the output that we get easily is the acceleration. And if we look
Yes.
at the area under the curve, it will be the velocity.
Right.
And if we integrate again, I think we will get the distance,
Yes.
something
Yes.
like that. Yeah,
okay,
so that's a
understand.
basically we do the analysis based on this concept first for the IMU. Yeah.
I understand. So for this, I mean, Shravong, thanks again for actually giving the overview of the project. So I remember now lah. So Nu is actually focusing more on the EMG, and Ta is focusing more on the IMU. So this is IMU currently you're placing at the ankle, right? Is it?
On the lateral side of the shank.
Above the ankle.
Side.
Above the ankle.
Above the ankle. Above the ankle. So it's
Yeah.
Okay, I think you have a picture, right? Do you have a picture to show the data that you collected? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, right? Okay. So
Yeah.
I see. I mean, for this is why do you choose this? I mean, why do you choose this location?
Why? Actually, we have 3 locations, Desmond.
Okay, yes.
Where we put.
We put 2 at the left and right side of the shank, and 2 at the left and right side of the thigh.
Yeah, of the thigh, yes.
And 1 at the waist.
And the waist, right?
Yep.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I remember because I think I kind of like written down something as well. So in the last meeting you mentioned about different locations, right? So there are the 3 locations, kind of like above the ankle, at the shin, at the thigh, and the waist. So now I mean the data collected now is only for the shin. Wait, so are you going to move on to looking at the thigh and the waist also?
Yeah.
We as during the experiment we faced some problem about the during the data transferring. So it's
There's some data missing during we record, I think. Maybe it's the technical problem from the tools, because we connect with the Bluetooth. Yeah.
Understand. No, I mean, in a way, kind of like unfortunate, right? So because the data, all these data are so valuable, we are getting it from patients, from subjects. Yeah. So sometimes because our systems kind of like, I mean, not functioning well, and all these data are kind of lost.
Yeah. Because I think that is the one problem for the wireless.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, I think she told me like when she looked at the signal, the clear signal that's like a cycle, the good shape, she can see from the shank above the ankle compared to other 2 locations. Yeah, and it's quite difficult to see clearly at the waist. Yeah, because it's just in the middle and there is no any rotation for the gyroscope, right? Because it's like a translational for the
correct,
for the
right?
waist. Yeah,
understand. Yeah, because the waist probably it doesn't kind of rotate as much, right? So it's just moving, in a linear motion.
Right.
Yes.
So
yes.
we just, that's why we look at the gyroscope at the shank and the thigh, and the thigh also maybe compared to the ankle. I think we can see clearly at the ankle, right? Because as the linkage, because at the end of the linkage, I think there is like a large movement, or like the high angular movement,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why she point to the ankle or the shank. when she analyzes
Okay,
it.
right. So right, understand.
But you can suggest, Desmond, any like interesting point if we look at other locations.
No, I mean I just kind of recall, because the thing is, as you're right, when the person is swinging, right, when the leg is actually swing forward and backward, of course the I mean the body segment that is furthest away from the hip joint would have the largest kind of angular
Right.
velocity, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely anchor would be the best to look at. But of course, an anchor, at that region is even more complex because it was actually connected at that point. You have the thigh followed by the knee and then followed by the shin, right? So when you swing, and after that, the when you start to, let's say the entire lower limb swing at the hip, right? But at the same time, the knee joint also starts to swing, right? So I kind of like, when you measure at the shin level, which is actually just above the ankle, probably in a way is like I know it's a 2-bar linkage, so it's actually kind of like dependent on the first bar and also for the second bar,
Right.
But then if you measure at the hip, probably it's just a simple kind of just 1 bar, and in a way the swing will be pretty straightforward. It's just like a pendulum, right? So the one at the thigh definitely is more like a pendulum kind of swinging, but for the one at the ankle, probably the motion will be actually more than just a pendulum. Yeah. So I mean, definitely it's good that you can actually start off with looking at the ankle, and if you can kind of analyze that, that is the most complex one. If you move over to the thigh, I guess all the methodology is applicable.
Yeah, and the other thing that we think, if we would like to develop to be like the wearable sensor or wearable device, maybe the thigh is really difficult, or maybe it's not quite beautiful when you attach something. But at the ankle, maybe we can make it more, beautiful if you develop the device that need to attach.
Right.
Something
so
like that.
eventually, the device, are you planning to for the patient, right, to wear it on a daily basis, or it's just going to wear it for a few days, or it's at home, or it's only in the lab setting? The eventual device.
They can use at home for the device.
So is it for home use?
Yep.
Okay. So you want to capture all these parameters, while they are at home, and I suppose if you're going to be that, they can also wear it go out, right? When they go for their outdoor activities. I mean, if they're going for their normal walking, are you looking at that also?
ลุกไหม ใช้นอกบ้านได้ไหม she said, yeah.
Alright,
we are
so
looking to use outdoor also. Yeah,
yes.
not just only at home.
No.
But yeah, that's why we would like to design a little bit beautiful and like easy to attach for them when they use the daily life outdoor, right? That's maybe
Right.
benefit for them also.
Yes. Okay, so that means, right, so you really want to capture their, in a way, I mean, what I'm saying definitely is good. It's just that, so what are the information that you're going to gather? That means is in terms of like the range of, so that means is more towards the range of motion, right? So because you're saying that from the gyroscope, you are getting the angular velocity, then followed by the angle, the range of motion that you can capture, and the acceleration you are able to capture, like from the acceleration you can get the velocity and the distance covered as well. Would this be sufficient? So you really want to kind of capture how a stroke patient kind of like response or behave when they are going through rehab or going through their normal activities, right? Because IMU is only because IMU is only the gyroscope and the accelerometer. Now, of course, it has a magnetometer, but the magnetometer is just to tell you, north and south, So from these parameters, right? How can you help with the stroke patients? How do you think can help?
It's good questions.
Thank you.
I will answer your questions.
I'm just of course curious to know, right? Yeah.
Actually, if the patient were with the wearable device with which can provide the feedback or something during the training or rehabilitation. So as you know, the stroke patient work with the asymmetric between affected and non-affected side.
Right.
So during the working, it can be used to track the progress of the patient also. And
circumduction ไง
yeah. It can be describe more. For example, the problem of the patient. For example, the circumduction gait or something.
Right.
Yeah. Initially, the stroke patient would be walk with the more.
on the lateral, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means well, I guess what you're saying is really, if you can capture all this data, you're able to monitor their improvement.
Yep.
Is it? Yeah, because all these are kinematics in nature, so you're really trying to capture the kinematics, the kinematics responses to see how they respond, how they improve along the way, right? So I think you're trying to compare, let's say, a normal versus a stroke. So probably a normal subject would have a certain pattern of kinematics, and hopefully after the rehabilitation, the stroke patients are able to return. I mean, in a way, they are able to kind of like resume their gait as close to a normal subject as possible. Right? So all these parameters are helpful to provide a direct feedback for the improvement.
And also, maybe I would like to give more detail because we believe that when we look at the patient's walk, right, their walking, you can see that there are two axes that they have. The first one is like rotate in the direction of medial lateral, right? The rotation on that plane. And the other plane is on the transverse. I think on the transverse plane, they have the rotation on the circumference for these patients, right? So when we detect the motions, we will see two components that has much value compared to the normal. Because normal they just rotate like this for the leg in the like a frontal and in the anterior posterior direction, right? Mostly.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, mostly because if you're talking about walking, they will be kind of the main primary movement is about the sagittal plane. Right?
Yeah, right. Sagittal plane.
The sagittal plane, it's actually swinging in the anterior.
Yeah, that's mostly the magnitude is high in that rotation, right? In that plane.
Yes.
So but for the patient, there are two planes for the motion on the paralytic side because they have some kind like a circumduction when they move.
Correct.
So that's if we can detect that there is the values of the angular velocity in the transverse plane.
Right.
So we can feedback that value. Yeah.
That is the coronal plane, right? The frontal plane, right? Are you saying the frontal plane? Is it? Yeah. Okay, the coronal plane. Okay, it means
transverse, right?
Transverse. Okay, so you're saying that so they are doing some rotation.
Yeah, right. So if we detect that magnitude on that plane, right? So we may know that their walking is still abnormal. So if they can control more and the magnitude is reduced to the threshold that we set, maybe they will have the improvement for the movement, something like that. This is our concept to use the IMU to feedback.
I see. Sure. I mean that definitely it is useful. So I'm just thinking, exactly. But the thing is that at the point where you're putting an anchor, of course, is the kind of the body segment that's furthest away from the hip, right?
Yeah.
But because Tha, you have the data at the hip as well. I mean at the thigh as well. Will you also be analyzing it? because I think this information might be useful as well, right? Or you're just only going to focus on. So eventually, when you divided the system, you're only going to ask the subject to wear it at the ankle, right? At the shin area, lah. And so the data that you're measuring, so all these results, now what you've actually presented on the angular velocity is the sagittal plane, is it? All the data that you're collecting, all the current data that you're presenting, I suppose, definitely
angular เมื่อกี้ can set
angular velocity is.
I think she present the angular velocity around the c-axis. If you look at the slide right now, yeah, she present the one that rotate, yeah, around the c-axis.
The z-axis, sorry, I mean z-axis, I mean it's the vertical axis, is it?
Yeah, right. No,
okay,
it's
no.
It's
okay,
perpendicular.
Sorry.
Yeah,
it's the one that's out of the paper, is it?
Right, perpendicular out of the paper.
Okay, so you see, if it's out of the paper, what I see is that if it's out of the paper, looking at what I'm seeing now is actually in this direction, right? It's actually moving from left to right. Correct? Is it because if you look at the
rotation,
the axis you are looking at, because this is what the foot that you're showing, right? I mean the axis right at the center, right? I mean you have the foot right at the center. You're referring to the axis which is at the center of the picture, right? So the x-axis is vertical, right?
Yeah, right.
And
vertical.
y-axis is pointing backwards, correct? Pointing anteriorly.
Right.
Right. And then your z-axis is anterior posterior. No, sorry, it's a medial lateral.
Medial lateral, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If you're talking about if it's medial lateral, then okay, so you're really looking at the
angular motion.
Angular motion about the about this
around the c-axis.
About the z-axis.
Yeah, on the xy plane.
Yeah, okay, on the xy plane.
Yeah, because when we walk.
Oh, okay, because that is how your rotation is.
Right,
okay, sorry. Yes, sorry, my bad. Okay, understand. So that means it's really at the sagittal plane. Okay, good.
Yes, sagittal plane. Yep.
Okay, sagittal plane. Yeah. Okay, yes. So that means, Shurupong, that's why you're saying that you are looking at this plane, which is the primary plane that you're looking at, right?
Right. Because we think normal people, they perform on that plane more than the other plane. Yeah.
Right, definitely. But because then just now you mentioned about the transverse plane.
Yeah, the motion, the rotation around the axis. Because the patient have the circumduction or circumferential movement.
Yes.
So we may see the vector. Yeah.
Right. So that means for this you'll be looking at both planes, the sagittal plane and the transverse plane, right?
Yeah. Right, for the patients.
Okay. Yes, for the patients. And so now, I mean the current data that Ta has presented is about the sagittal plane.
Right. But actually, I think she has some data set that she already plot for the transverse plane.
Yeah, the transverse plane. Right? Yeah, okay. So maybe it would be good as well. So again,
but x y z แล้วมันจะมีว่า x กับ z มันใหญ่หน่อย
Yes. So I think Ta maybe just some comments. Because when you use a gyroscope, it has actually 3 axes. So when you present the angular velocity, of course, people will assume that it's at the dominant, it's at the sagittal plane. But it might be good that you can just indicate that actually it's about the z-axis or it's about the sagittal plane.
Okay. We will have to clearly mention which axis or which plane.
So now you also have the results for the transverse plane, right? Is it?
Yeah. We will show you some data that we plot for the transverse plane.
Okay, yes, thanks.
We have a little bit technical problem with the new laptop. มันจะไม่ลงซูมของเราใช่ไหมอะไรนะ Desmond, maybe I would like to update you. I just look at the status of our manuscript. Yeah, in the editorial manager, I think the system.
Oh, okay, yes, yes. For the MEP, is it?
It's yeah, for the MEP, it seems like under the editor decision. But I afraid that maybe we will get the bad news.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
because
you
it's
get
under
that.
the decision, right? That means something weird.
Yes, yes. I mean, have you seen that? Has it undergone any review? Was it under review before it go to the editor at the editor decision?
I think, yeah, I think. Because
Okay.
we submit that one at the beginning of September, I think around 4th of September. And the review period about 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But it's whole like a 1 week before they assign. Yeah. So that's why it took around 3 weeks. Mhm.
Right, right.
So in order to get some kind like a new update status that under the editor decision.
Mhm.
But as you inform me, like maybe the other journal, right, that you just show me.
Correct. The functional, is it? Let me see. It's the functional materials, right? The
Yeah,
one
yeah,
that,
functional materials for MDPI, I think, right?
yes, yes. Correct, correct. Mhm.
But our work is about the computational work. Do you think it's matched with the scope of the journal?
Yeah, because it is, well, I look at it because it is like materials related and also depending on the title, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just, well, preparing lah. What if, yeah, as I
But
said, if it's not accepted or it's kind of declined by MEP, then at
yeah,
least we need to find another place for Newman's manuscript.
yeah. But you know what? I just like got the like a Google alert, right? Because when we subscribe the Google alert for the journal or the new paper,
Okay.
yeah, I just got the similar work from maybe they published in Frontier something, and it's about the design of the insole from Hong Kong. Yeah, from Hong Kong.
All right.
And
Right.
it's quite
Okay.
similar. The concept of the design, the contour or the shape of the insole for
Oh,
for the
right.
diabetics people. It's just
Okay.
published. Yeah,
Uh,
in
yeah.
Frontier, but
I think you're right. Maybe because this area is actually pretty hot as well, right? So there are people from different universities who are working in this area as well.
นี่คือดูของแกนหรือว่า
ใช่ Okay, so she found it. Then she will explain you what does it mean for each axis.
Okay, right. Yeah, I mean, you see, the thing is that I suppose, yes, you have all the data.
This is for subject patients, right?
Both is normal.
Normal and patients on the bottom.
Right.
Okay.
For the patient, this is the data from affected compared to the non-affected side.
Okay. Yeah, Okay, how is it? This is the y-axis, x1 and z.
You have it. Okay. Maybe this one, if you see the top one is a normal, right? So you can see the green one is the one that we always looking.
Yes.
This is a rotation allow the z-axis, the green
Yes.
one, right?
Yes.
And
Correct.
you can see that for the normal people, other two axis rotation is smaller compared to the z-axis, the green one, right? For the normal. So that means mostly the motions also like we see on the z-axis, like around the z-axis, right?
Yes.
But for the patients, you can see that the orange one also
Okay.
has
Yes.
some like a magnitude higher than the yellow one. Yeah.
Right.
So that means in the patient, there are two axes that have the angular velocity.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, okay. So that's why with this so Tom made the kind of like of course the conclusion that you want to look into the x-axis and the z-axis, right? These two axes, right? Yeah. So of course, then the thing is, in a way, because you are doing a PhD, if you want to make your work complete, you also want to address the why. This is just my suggestion, where at least, what if people ask you, hey, how do you look at the why? Do you look at the y-axis? And so I guess then maybe you have to say, maybe because the y-axis isn't that much of a difference, right? But now the issue is that, because just now what you of course, according to Prof. Surapong, you're saying that you're looking at the affected side. So the affected side, you can see that the z-axis and the x-axis, they are actually big difference. They are big differences, right? But you also wanted to compare between healthy and affected, right? Healthy and patients and stroke patients. I'm thinking, you can also look into, is there any difference in the y-axis? Maybe it is small, right? But if you can actually find a few subjects now to tell yourself that, hey, actually, the difference between the healthy subject and the stroke patients, their y-axis is actually not much of a difference in terms of the angular velocity. Then at least you give people additional information. Okay, so in future, don't need to look at the y-axis. Even yourself, you really shown it already. But the thing is that you collected so many data. I'm just thinking whether you just want to do a quick comparison for yourself to know that, okay, so I already done that, and the y-axis rotation, the y-axis angular velocity between healthy subject and the stroke patients basically is almost the same. Then you can be very comfortably move to the y and the z and the x-axis.
Yeah, I think it's good suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we let them know
yeah.
that there is no any difference in the y-axis.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So because if not, people ask you, yes, you can roughly see, because the thing is, what I can see is, yes, if you look at the healthy one, right, the dominant is actually in the sagittal plane, in the z-axis. Yes, but then in the stroke patients, so they are actually two axes lah, z-axis and the x-axis, they are affected. So now in terms of the y-axis, I don't know whether is there any difference between the y-axis of the healthy and the stroke patient. Which is the light green curve, right? Yeah. And I can see that, because let's say if there is 100, and because it's there, so if I look at the healthy subjects, right? Let me just try to draw, okay. So maybe in the y-axis is somewhere this one. Can you see my annotation on the slides? Can you see the line that I'm drawing?
No.
No, is it?
We cannot see. Okay, we see it.
Yeah, you see that. Okay, correct. So you see, so that is maybe from the healthy subject is around 100 degrees per second.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
when you come to the patient, the stroke patients,
It's
it
a
is
little
so
bit
low, no?
higher. It's a little higher than 100.
Is it? Oh no, sorry. Let me see. Is that the curve? I thought it's that yellow. Is
Yeah,
this
we
max?
see. Yeah, we see it.
Yeah. So the value is very low, right? It's like 10, 20.
You mean which one? For the orange one?
No, the yellow line that I'm drawing.
Oh yeah.
No,
Okay.
yeah. So you see, so the thing is that we can see that, but so I'm a bit interested. Why? So you can see that in the healthy subjects, they even swing that means because your y-axis is pointing anterior posterior, right? That means it's about the frontal plane.
Yeah.
It's about the frontal plane. So
Mhm.
when you can see that, for that, they even have 100 degree per second of angular velocity at that. So it means they are swinging at about the frontal plane. But then when you come to the patient, it seems like that swing in the frontal plane is very minimal. You know, so there might be some signature that you can capture as well.
Yeah, if look at like this, it seems like there are still have difference in around the y-axis also, right? The angular,
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah. So this is my thought. So it's that I thought that because since you have the X, Y, and Z, look into all these three X, Y, and Z. So until you really find that is the data really prove that, hey, actually there's no difference between the y-axis between the healthy and the stroke patients. Then you can say that, okay, when you want to implement this device, you want to measure the stroke patients' kinematics, you can kind of ignore. You don't need to look at the responses in the y-axis. Right? But it seems like if you have got the first data that I'm looking at, right, it's like 100. Let's say this is around 100, right? Versus let's say over here it's around 20. Yeah, I don't know. The magnitude might be quite big, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think technically, maybe that is good point. Maybe there are difference in all directions, right? Okay, I think a little bit ahead on this result, Desmond.
Yes.
Because when we would like to feedback, right, to the patients, I try to imagine if they would like to collect the motion along the y-axis. It is easy to understand how they collect because we know that this patient, they have the circumferential movement, right?
Yes.
So if they like make it a little bit like shorter and move forward, maybe they understand. But how can they like collect on this frontal plane movement? I think it's a little bit difficult to understand. I don't know. This just imagine if we have like a y-axis also to feedback. You think it's a practical for the patients to collect on the motion on this plane?
In a way, you're right, that's why I guess this one probably we really have to kind of like work with or speak to the physiotherapists to see. Because I think definitely they are the one who kind of in charge of the rehab regime, right, of the stroke patients. So I guess the main function is that they will tell them to focus maybe really on the sagittal plane swing first, and then maybe followed by the transverse axis, the transverse plane, which is the x-axis. So I'm just saying that, well, it seems like the data that shows that there's a difference. So when we present to the physiotherapists, we can tell them, okay, maybe the main focus, the big difference, the number one difference is the z-axis. The second difference is the first difference, the major difference is the z-axis, right? Then the second would be the x-axis. Then the least one would be the y-axis. At least they know that the kind of order, it's not that there's no difference, but it seems like there's still difference. So maybe in terms of the rehab regime, yes, you're right. Probably they cannot focus on so many planes. I think primarily they will ask them to focus on the z-axis first.
Right. Yeah. Because I agree on your suggestion that maybe we can publish on this data set what we see, right, and what's the new finding on the stroke patients for the kinematics. Yeah, and I think as I asked that she has to think about which parameters that she would like to pick up to make for the device. Because if we use so many parameters to feedback, it's difficult and maybe take time and maybe not user friendly, something like that. Maybe we have to pick up some parameter that may be effective or more efficient to feedback, something like that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, agree. I mean, definitely, because I think in terms of I'm just looking at, because let's say from a sensor point of view, right? The sensor can definitely collect three information result responses in 3 planes. So we should present on these 3 planes. At least to tell people that I think, because if let's say this is going to be a research work, would be good, right? Because you don't want people to go and find out something that actually there's a difference in the ZY axis, but then you did not report, right? So since you're doing the work from a research point of view, you can present on the 3 axes. Then after that, then from the application side of it, how it's going to rehabilitation, then maybe you can draw some recommendation saying that, yeah, might be difficult for stroke patients to focus on so many from 3 planes. So then your recommendation can be, of course, you focus on the Z axis first, then followed by the X axis. But at least from the database, we reported on the three planes. And we did show that, I mean, if there might be differences or no differences among these 3 planes.
And
what do you think?
Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah. And as further questions, Desmond, if you look at the signal, do you think any like a benefit if we look at the area above 0 and below 0?
Sorry,
is it any informations? Yeah, the area above 0 and the area under like a below 0 from the signal. Any informations that you think we can get? Because the area is like an angle, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you integrate, right? So if you integrate, I mean, this one is velocity, right? This is angular velocity.
Yeah,
then
right.
You would, yeah, that means you would basically be capturing the range of motion, right? Or the degree. Yes.
But above 0, that means positive degree, right? And below 0 is a negative degree, right? Actually.
Yes. So I suppose there must be the reference point.
Yeah.
I mean, even if there's a positive and negative, I guess is swinging forward and swinging backward, right? Yeah. So if you integrate, I suppose they will take it as so you mean eventually if you integrate, there will be a positive area and a negative area, right? Is it?
Yeah. Right.
Would it be then if it's a positive area, that means it's actually swinging anteriorly, right? The range of motion, I mean that the angle, and after that, when you become negative, you will be going backwards. That means it's like swinging backwards.
Right.
So assuming that the center point is so it's exactly, I think this one here, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
you draw.
Yeah, the reference point is here, which is the vertical. So I guess if it's positive, that means the range of motion will all be here.
Counterclockwise, right?
Yeah, as in whether it's, let me see at the Z axis. Yeah, which is the counterclockwise, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is really more from the the range of motion at this anchor is probably in the clockwise, in counterclockwise, and its negative will be swinging back, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think like if we can get information from the area, maybe we can describe something, that difference between the normal and patients, like a range of motion, they abnormal, something like that. Just thinking like any informations from the graph.
Yes, right, yeah. I mean that definitely. So I mean, of course, I definitely is there a lot of data, a lot of data has to be processed, and definitely they are valuable for the rehab routine.
คนกลุ่มนี้มันมีแบบabduction อะไรบ้างของผู้ป่วย
มีคลิป
อาจจะต้องลองไปดูว่ามัน data เพราะ alien literature มันก็มีความหมายรู้สึกว่า Okay, so we might do further analysis, I think, on the signal, not just only the angular velocity or accelerations, but we have to maybe take into account for the area or the slope or something like that. Yeah, that we can make the differentiation between two groups, I think.
Yes.
And we also have the idea that maybe we would like to ask your opinions, Desmond. Is it
Sure.
Is it necessary to correlate between gyroscope and accelerometer? Because we have data from two sensor, right? Gyro
Yes.
and accelo. Do you think if
Yes.
we like do any like a correlations, is it anything that interesting?
Okay, and of course I can't. The gyroscope is really more of angular movement, right?
Yeah, right.
But you want to have some correlation from the gyroscope and the acceleration, but because the accelerometer, right? The
Yep.
accelerometer really is only measuring a linear movement, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know whether would that be a
Because actually it's a like different like motion, right? One is a linear motion, the other one is angular motion.
yes.
Just curious,
Yes.
like any like relationship or correlations.
Oh, I mean, if you ask me, definitely that there is. If you think about, let's say you hold, I mean, you use a pendulum, and then you swing, right? Definitely, you can actually, when the pendulum is swinging, right? When the pendulum is swinging, you can get the angular parameters. You will also be able to measure the linear movement at the end point, right? So there will be some equations to relate the linear displacement to the angular movement or something like that, lah. But if you ask me, is there anything that can be related from the gait? I can't see at the moment.
Okay.
You know, but I thought but would but at least would that be there's always a positive correlation, right? If let's say the angular acceleration, the angular velocity is in a positive, the linear velocity will also be positive, right? So I mean, I don't know whether is there an interest, because you're talking about, let's say something is rotating thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that is the angular velocity.
Yeah.
And so that is the angular displacement.
Yeah.
Here, and your acceleration is really, you know, in this direction. But and the thing is that I also don't know in terms of the acceleration, because you see what we are seeing here is I can relate a pendulum. So a pendulum, usually what we see is that maybe it's the angular velocity, right, that we want to measure. But the linear displacement, I guess, is really right at the tangent, right? It's always right at the tangent. But that is applicable, let's say, to a pendulum, or you're talking about, you know, you're something that's actually moving in circle. But this one is a bit more tricky, because I mean, as an anchor, right, when you start to move, the thing is that your entire limb is not straight, you see, right? So entire limb is not straight. So your anchor, when you start to swing forward, right, maybe your knee will start to bend also, right? So the radius of curvature, or the radius of this point will always change as you move, right? So it's not like a pendulum that is the radius is constant. So maybe there is a direct equation to relate, because the radius is constant. But what you're saying now is that, let's say this is the hip joint, the knee joint, and now your anchor is here. When you start to walk, you know, your knee starts to bend also, and all those things. So I don't know, they might not be a direct linear correlation, right?
It sounds hard. It sounds difficult. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what you can do is that we can get the results out first, then we see whether is there any pattern. This is my thought, you know, because at the present moment I cannot see a direct relationship, direct link from the gyroscope. If you ask me in terms of the parameters, the results gotten from gyroscope and accelerometer, I can't see a direct link or correlation as yet. Maybe
Mm.
it's that we need to get the results out. Then with all the results in front of us, probably when task starts to analyze, suddenly she got a sparkle, right? They found something, a good correlation.
Okay. I think the other questions, because right now she just look at only the IMS for the signal. So do you think it's any features of the signal that should be looked at?
Sorry, again, the
So yeah, because now she just look at only the IMS, right, from the signal, the root mean square.
the root mean square, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think any like features of the signal should be looked at? Like
Currently, you look at the RMS.
Yeah, IMS only.
So okay, when you look at RMS, how do you what is the range of RMS that you kind of like average? Do you you're saying that for every curve you do the RMS, is it? How do you generate your RMS?
I think she put 5 cycles of the signal to calculate the IMS.
Okay, so it's the I recall it's a five cycles, right?
Yeah.
You presented 5 cycles.
Right.
So when you have the 5 cycles, basically your 1 cycle is from, so it means you have a positive signal, then go down to the negative signal, right? Is it? And when you do the RMS, so basically it's from the positive to the negative, all the way. That one you consider as one cycle, right?
Yeah. This just like a try to think anything that we can do from the signal, because in order to get published, right? So we have to think about any possibility to do for the signal to get published, I think.
Yes, understand. Because that is how about, because from there you can see that you have a positive value and then you have a negative value, right?
Right.
So the thing is, because when you start to swing, you have your positive angular velocity, and then you also have when you swing back, that means that you have a positive angular velocity and a negative angular velocity. But when you find the RMS, you're basically summing up the positive and negative.
Right.
So will you want to look at the positive and also the negative as well? So that means that when you compare, right? So you also want to see in terms of the positive angular velocity for a healthy subject versus the stroke patients, what is their positive acceleration and the negative acceleration? Because I guess when you talk about positive and negative acceleration, is the limb is swinging up, I mean on front and back, right? They are recruiting different sets of muscles of doing that. If you swing forward, probably it's the quads, and the front muscles, the anterior muscles they are pulling. But then when you swing back, that will be probably more of the posterior muscles, right? Right, the glutes, and I mean the gluteus medius muscles and all those things. But again, sometimes there's also a chance is that when you swing back, I know sometimes there might be some momentum as well. Because when you start to swing, when the person is doing a gait analysis, we know sometimes when they start to swing, there's also some certain momentum that's actually helping them to swing forward also. So I mean, of course, it's very complex. You need to kind of couple with the EMG, then you can have a complete analysis, right? Because what you're doing now is that you're only focusing on the kinematics, and you did the EMG is done by Moon, right? So that's why I don't know whether when you present, people might ask you, hey, you look at only the kinematics. Do you look at the kinetics part or not? But of course, if you make your boundary of the study very well, that I'm only looking at kinematics. So you put all your studies on kinematics lah. So what I'm saying is that if you're saying that only the RMS, you might want to look at the positive and the negative root mean square. I mean the positive and negative value as well, the peak values. Right. Of course, you see, sometimes is that and the thing is that more tricky is because for news, right, when we do the EMG, because what we did was the EMG also had positive and negative, right? But the thing is that we rectified, everything become positive. So we take at one cycle, everything is positive, so we can do the root mean square. But now is that the angular velocity, because kinematics really have direction, right? So forward and negative might be different. So now even if you ask me, I'm thinking from the analysis point of view, from the results processing, should we be looking at positive and negative separately? So that means in your angular velocity, this one I'm not too sure. So of course is to see what read from the literature review. Do people split into this kind of like positive and negative kind of acceleration? No, sorry, the angular velocity. You see. So now is that because if you look at, so can you just bring up any curve that you have? Ta.
So
Yeah, any signals, your
but
angular velocity.
Desmond, actually for the mathematics, for the IMS, it's mean they like a square, the signal first, and then they have the average, and then they take the square root. So that means
Yes.
they're not concerned about the negative values because it should be square, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it will be square. But what I'm saying is because over here, what we are seeing is that we are seeing a physical movement.
Yeah, right.
See, now I'm not too sure. Okay, okay, for this one, yeah, maybe can you just enlarge the thing?
Time there. ขยายโชว์เป็นในนั้นสไลด์โชว์
Because this is angular velocity. Okay. The thing is, okay, assuming that you have, okay, like what I'm trying to do is that okay, I'm trying to draw a limb. All right, so this is the hip joint, this is the knee joint, and this is where the IMU sensor is, right? Okay, so assuming that this is the forward, anterior, posterior, if the limb starts to swing forward, okay, this is, I suppose the angular velocity would be positive, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. But the moment is, when it starts to swing back, so this is really negative, right? So I mean negative, even when you swing all the way here, it is negative. So this whole range is negative. So I'm thinking, if you look at that, you should see it when they do a forward swing, what is the maximum angular velocity that you can get, right? So it means how when you swing forward, a healthy subject, how fast will they swing, right? And then when for comparing to a stroke patient, so shouldn't we be separating even at that? We look at the swing, because the swing is really, you have a positive and then you have a negative. So I again, I don't know whether do we need to do that painful task of splitting into positive and negative. And who knows that when you do positive and negative, and then versus when you do just so I suppose when you do you look at the entire swing, that means is that you do the Robin square of okay, let's say this is the cycle, right? I don't know where is one cycle. Can you show me?
We start from here, the zero crossing to
Okay.
around here.
Okay, can.
After
so it's somewhere here and here, right? It's here, okay. So you see, the thing is that okay, if let's say this is 0, so that means that when you start, the angular velocity is negative. Is it? So that means you need to decide. Of course, you can see where you want to start the measurements, right? So your measurements, is it that you are depending on, because this is a swing phase, or this is the, oh sorry, this is the entire cycle. It actually includes the stance phase and the swing phase, right? Is it?
Yeah, it's included.
Oh, I think it start by the less than, it start by the negative.
This side, is it?
Yep, because when we walk when we are on in the swing phase, first the leg go this way. มันไปทางนี้ก่อนเริ่มใช่พอสไตล์แล้วมันก็
It's like when you have the heel strike, right?
Okay.
It-
Okay. So there is
When
so
walk-
okay, I
when
understand.
walk
So your
yeah,
your first half cycle is hill strike, right?
แต่ว่ามัน
So when
เป็
you
นล
start
ม
the
ไง
hill strike and the swing will start to forward lah.
อ๋อ
Okay, so when it start to forward, okay, I understand. Maybe is what I can see is because
ครอบไว้ส่วนใหญ่จะเป็นอะไรอะ
when you start to hill strike, right? When you start the hill strike and the angular velocity,
เพราะว่าชั่วโมง
how do you
it seems like when you have your strike, like your shank is rotate to the forward direction,
yeah, okay, correct,
right?
yes,
But the angular movement is some kind like a clockwise.
yes,
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, right, understand. So okay, but me over what I draw is more like at the swing phase. Okay, so because of that, you have that means I think you need to really look into the whole I think maybe it will be more interested to split into stun phase and swing phase, right? When you look at the angular velocity. Because you see the thing is that at the angular velocity, the foot is kind of hill strike, and then the foot is on the ground. See, it's actually the shank is moving. Right? So the shank moving, that's why there's a change in the angular velocity. That is when at the stance phase. But then at the swing phase is different. The swing phase is after that, the toe off, right? After toe off, then your swing start to swing forward, you see? So I would take it that there are two different kind of like gait. I mean, not say two kind of gait, it's actually stance phase and swing phase. The movement is kind of different, right? Because when you talk about hill strike, is actually the shank itself, right? The shank is moving, right?
Yeah.
But then when you look at the swing phase, it's basically the entire lower limb is swinging. But of course, the entire lower limb is swinging the forward. So maybe that's the reason why that yes. So at the swing phase, you really see a positive kind of like an angular velocity. So now I'm thinking whether in terms of the analysis, should you split into stance phase and swing phase instead, right? Or just or look at the entire cycle. What do you think, Ta? So these are some of the questions sometimes. Well, when we come to a discussion, we raise, and we may not have an answer at the moment. So probably we will want the students to go back and think about it, Right, because so I can see now is that the result that you show is only a complete gait cycle, and then you return only one root mean square. So now after we have kind of like go through your results and all this discussion, would it be more meaningful that you need to analyze the results at the split between stance phase and swing phase?
เรามีอยู่แล้วนี่พูดถึงว่าตอนที่ดูเรามีอยู่แล้วนี่ว่าไซเคิลของไกโรสโคปสวิงกับสแตนเป็นยังไงกราฟที่ให้ทำตั้งแต่ตอนแรกๆอันนี้ใช่ไหมอันนี้มันใจโลไหมใจโลสีม่วง Okay, this one we have this one I think, but it's a little bit messy I think.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, we try to correlate the physical.
This is good. This is good.
Yeah, we look at the z-axis also for the gyro, the magenta one. Yeah, that's related to the gait event.
Right. Yeah. So it seems like it is. I think we get the same. So it's like when it is at the stance phase, right? Everything is negative, right?
Yeah.
Look at the magenta.
Some kind like
Actually,
that.
when you move into, but of course, when you move into the swing phase, you have the the first positive, then followed by some negative, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you suggest that we have to look at the maximum angular velocity for the swing phase and stand phase, right? Separately between normal and patients.
Yes. Well, this is my suggestion because it really depends on as in of course who is the one looking at it. For me, I tend to be a bit more, I would say, I don't know whether it's overcautious or I would rather do more so that I'm very sure that what parameter should I go for so that I will not miss out something. So the thing is that if you look into the negative acceleration, right? I guess it's the magenta, right? So over here, I guess this is all the area, right? That you would
Yeah, right.
Right? Yeah, correct. So of course, see, by doing that, you have this root mean square. You have one single value. That is the root mean square value, and of course, at the same time, you also have the maximum value, right? But what I will see is that if there any effect, if let's say if I look at the root mean square value and the peak value, and both of them probably show me the same direction that the healthy subject is always higher, right? Whether you look at root mean square or whether you look at the peak value, it is fine. But of course, I mean, sometimes if you choose the peak value, there are also another thoughts that if you choose the peak value, sometimes people don't want to choose just a peak value, right? They want to find a larger average. So root mean square is also fine. So if let's say based on that reasoning, yes, TAR can go for the root mean square value to compare between healthy and stroke patients, right? So I think in a way I'm agreeable. Maybe we don't go with the peak, we look at the root mean square. But the thing is that for the root mean square, are you going to kind of like, because your root mean square is you're looking from right from the start of the gait cycle to the entire gait cycle, right? Yeah, then you have your positive value, negative value, add up together. I'm saying because the physical movement is different, man. So I also don't know. I also don't know. My first instinct is we should look into at least minimally is the stance phase and the swing phase. That is my instinct that I'm looking at now.
I see.
No, I mean this is just my thought, So you should usually actually take all these pointers, and then you have to go back and think about it. So you have to kind of think, hey, is it really the case or not? Or you are able to kind of tell me that no, that isn't the case. I can just look at the entire gait cycle. If you can provide a good reasoning or articulation, then you can do it. Because what I'm just saying is that let's say if I have this thought, when you go to your reviewer, you go to your examiner, they might ask the same question also. So then how are you going to respond? If let's say at that point of time when you have already finished all your studies, you see. Yeah. So Surapong,
Yep.
I mean, it's a good question also. I mean, it's definitely good work, and you are here really to see how we can make the results, I mean, very of great impact and meaningful, right? So
yeah, because we still think about the publication first, Desmond, because this is one of the requirements for graduations, same as a Newman, as you know. So we try to figure out any things that we can get published, right? Is that a novelty? So I think as I heard from that maybe the benefit that we have is the patient's case, because not so many people they work IMU with the stroke patients. Maybe that is a benefit. Yeah, and we don't want to put everything in one paper like a EMG, IMU, and PIDA in only one paper, I think. Yeah, because we would like to see some result first, and then try to figure out which one is the best candidate for our system. But for Ta's case, she need to analyze all of three sensors, in order to complete the aims in the thesis.
Okay, so which are the sensors again? So for Ta, how many sensors? You mean the IMU and?
She has a MU, EMG, and PIDA.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Yeah, but not she will focus just only the EMG and PIDA.
Right, understand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I agree that maybe Tan should figure out like which one that she need to do. I think as you mentioned, maybe this is your suggestions, right? And she has to think about it. Yeah, as a
Yes.
PhD student, maybe to see any interesting. Yeah.
Correct. So can I ask, so this one is the IMU for normal. Do you have the pattern, the signature for a stroke patient?
Me from
Similar
stroke.
graph, but for a stroke patient.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Oh, okay. No. Then you should, because okay, if that's the case, maybe I really would suggest that, because this one is based on the normal patient. We see this is the signature for the z-axis, but we need to look at how the stroke patient looks like.
Hmm.
You know, then we can have a better feel lah. Yeah. You know, so what I'm thinking of is that when we look at that, it seems like, I think Ta, based on our discussion, maybe you can just stick to RMS, right? The root mean square. Right? But the root mean square, do you just take the entire gait cycle, or you have to take at different phases? Right? I think that's something that you really have to look into. Right? So minimally, I see from here is maybe the stance phase is pretty straightforward. We should have the stance, because most of the stance phase is negative, right? And then, but now when you go to your swing phase, so swing phase is like, you know, at the first portion of the swing phase is a positive, and then probably towards the end of the swing phase is negative. Yeah. So for that, I don't know where, even for the swing phase, do you need, so there must be something to show that it is the anchor is swinging, right, in the positive angular velocity, but almost like about like huge strike, it has to respond, so it's actually turned back already. Right. So for that, do you want to put the entire sun phase, swing phase as only one, or you even want to chop it down? You know, where at the point where the positive is positive, the negative is negative. That means you have 3 root mean square for you to analyze and to compare, or you just want to have swing phase versus sun phase. Right. I think what you can do is, I mean, we can leave it here for you to think about it. Then you can come back to us, you know, for another discussion, or through email or whatsoever. And I think probably really need you to plot the same graph for the stroke patient. Then you can have a better view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Correct, right?
Yeah, because next time maybe she will like discuss with you one-on-one.
Yes, correct. I understand.
Because next month not she will do the defense.
Sorry. No will do the
Thesis defense. The thesis defense.
the thesis difference.
Different. Comprehensive examination. The thesis examinations.
Sorry, the thesis.
She will do the thesis examination.
Okay, when?
Yeah, so she will graduate.
Oh yeah. So Nu is going to graduate. So
yeah, not she will graduate next month.
Right.
Yeah, so
okay,
maybe I will discuss to you one-on-one.
Okay, can. That means we have more time. I think it's fine. It's okay. What is it? The thing is that it's always the case now. When you have 2 projects, the first one to go first, would actually take a lot of time to discuss, and until we realize that we don't have enough time for the second project already. So I think Ta is right. I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that I'm only have time for you during this visiting, virtual visiting professor, this period. But I guess once you get the graph for the stroke patients, and you figure out how many segments do you want to cut, we can come back again. We can arrange another Zoom call. It is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
Like we did same as Newman, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah,
right.
right.
I mean,
it's like a 1 hour or like a half hour, something like that. Yeah.
Correct. So I mean, I'm willing to. I mean, of course, put in this extra hours. I mean, extra time. It is fine, because as I said, all these things are really kind of like my interest as well, you see. So it will always be good to have this kind of like intellect discussion. Yeah. Okay. Hey, sorry, Shripon, I need to leave at 4 p.m.
Okay,
So
okay.
let's
20
say,
minutes.
Yeah, correct. If Nu has something, we can quickly
Yeah.
go through that. Would that be okay?
Yep เวลา20 นาที เอาแบบที่แบบเพิ่มเติมอะไรครับ
เรื่องที่สอง
ที่รีสอร์ทอะไร
อะไรแบบนี้เร็วๆก็ได้แค่
รีแคปสักนิดหนึ่งก็ได้ครับว่า
ได้ค่ะ
คราวที่แล้วยังไง iOS คือ C domain อะไรอย่างเงี้ยโอเค
Yes. So Nu, yeah, you can yes, you can share your results.
My work, I work about the EMG on the lower limb. Okay, so I will compare the characteristic of EMG between stroke and normal subjects. So I will compare in each gait phase. In the stance phase, I look first double support, single support, and second double support, and in the swing phase. So that means I look for subphase of gait cycle. So this is the muscle that I record the EMG. There are 6 muscles. And the signal processing, I start with data preparation, feature extraction, and analyze the statistical analysis. So for the data preparation, I select the raw EMG from 5 consecutive gait cycles. For the stroke patient, I separate on a paralytic and non-paralytic side. But in healthy subjects, I look right and left together. Yeah, that means I select 5 consecutive from right and 5 consecutive gait cycle from the left, and I mix the signal together. So I segment the data in each gait phase. First double support, single support, second double support, and swing phase. Yeah, this is the example that I segment the data. So I segment from the PIDA as well. Yeah, this is the yellow signal is the EMG, and the M shape is the signal from the PIDA. So after I select the data in each gait phase, I filter the data with bandpass and notch. So I got the filter EMG signal. So after that, I extract to the feature which are time domain and frequency domain. But for the time domain, I use the normalize the data to extract to the time domain, but frequency domain I use from the filter EMG. That means I did not normalize for the frequency domain. So this is the feature extraction from the time domain. The root mean square mean absolute value, waveform length, log detector. I want to look at the level of muscle contraction. For the frequency domain, I want to look the motor unit recruitment. So the statistical analysis that I use, I compare between 2 groups. I use the unpaired t-test and compare between paralytic and non-paralytic side. I use the paired t-test.
And this is the percent of gait cycle between paralytic, non-paralytic, and stroke and healthy subjects. So stroke patient take time in each gait phase, different from the healthy. And this is the filter energy signal from the first muscle, gluteus medius. Yeah, the left side from the healthy, the middle from the non-paralytic, and the right side is from the paralytic side. Yeah. So the signal for the gluteus medius non-paralytic side during the single support is higher than just from the observed. Yeah, is it? And this is the rectus femoris muscle. The amplitude were different between paralytic, non-paralytic, and healthy subjects, and the muscle activity during the gait phase also different. Like during single support, the non-paralytic and paralytic side present the muscle activation, but in healthy is not present. And this is the long head of bicep signal. And here is medial gastrocnemius. And this is the tibialis anterior signal. And the last one, peroneus longus. So this is the data from the 6 feature. Yeah, figure A from figure A is root mean square, B is mean absolute value, C log detector, D waveform length, E mean frequency, and F median frequency. So the result from the time domain show similar trend in within the feature in the time domain. Yeah, and frequency domain show the same trend within the feature in the frequency domain. And this is the rectus femoris muscle. Yeah, from the rectus femoris muscle during the single support in the frequency in the time domain, the paralytic side was higher than the healthy, and the non-paralytic side was higher than the healthy as well. But in frequency domain, the value was contrast with the time domain. And this is the long head of bicep femoris signal. The result from the time domain also in some phase, such as a swing in the swing phase, the frequency domain and time domain was contrast as well. This is the medial gastrocnemius. But for the medial gastrocnemius, show the many significance of statistics, like muscle in the medial gastrocnemius muscle from of the stroke patients was different from the healthy subjects. Yeah, is the most different. And the time domain, the result from the time domain and frequency domain, especially during single support, was contrast the same as rectus femoris and long head of bicep femoris. And this is the tibialis anterior. But for the tibialis anterior, in the first double support, frequency domain and time domain, you can see mid frequency. Also contrast with the time domain. And here is peroneus longus is the last muscle. But for the peroneus longus, the result from frequency domain and time domain was like correlate, was the same trend. Correlation. Okay. This is the result from the feature, 6 feature and 6 muscle in each gait cycle. And from the feature, I found that the medial gastrocnemius, is the most, there like much significant difference. In root mean square value. So I think this muscle is most different between stroke patient and healthy subjects when compare other muscle. So I analyzed the correlation of gastrocnemius. So between gastrocnemius and other muscle, that I record. So I record 6 muscle. So I want to know the correlation between medial gastrocnemius and other 5 muscle. So I analyze in each side. This is from the parietic side. And I analyze in each subphase of gait cycle as well. The figure A is from the first double support. The result from the first double support, the medial gastrocnemius was correlated with the rectus femoris muscle, a positive correlation. You can see from the yellow. But other phase, no correlation between gastrocnemius and other muscle. And this is from the non-parietic side. In the first double support, I found the correlation between medial gastrocnemius and peroneus longus muscle. You can see from the green, positive correlation as well. And here is the correlation of the healthy subjects, the muscle in the healthy subjects. I found the correlation in second double support and swing phase. In the second double support, the medial gastrocnemius was a positive correlation with peroneus longus. And for the swing phase, medial gastrocnemius was negative correlation with bicep femoris. You can see from the blue. So that's all my result.
Okay. No, thanks for the sharing. So I guess the last time that we met, I guess there's also you published a conference paper, right? Remember?
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So the RSU International Research Conference. So I guess during that paper, you only presented on data for the healthy subjects between male and female. So I think definitely this is a more complete one because you have the patients, you have the stroke patients, right? You have the paralytic versus a non-paralytic. I think definitely it is good. So this data, as long as we can identify the trends, this is really going to be, because you collected the data, you actually perform the statistical analysis. I think definitely will be very, very powerful and representative. But my quick question would be, because you have so many parameters, right? You have the time domain and then you have the frequency domain, and you show that some of those, they have a different in trend, right? Then which one are you going to choose to present your results?
Which one, right?
Yeah, because so you look at some of the muscles, right?
Yes.
Six
Are you going to
muscles.
show everything because you do your time domain and you also have your frequency domain, right? So when your time domain, you seems to show that, yeah, maybe the trend is going down, but then when you go to your frequency domain, the trend is going up, right? From paralytic to non-paralytic to then to healthy subjects. Correct, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So what is your purpose? Are you going to show all the 6 kind of like different methods to tell people that these are the different methods, this is how I get it? Or you're going to make a decision to see which one is a more realistic one, and then you're going to present your results?
I think first of all, that she would like to show the result that she has,
Yes.
and then
correct,
she will conclude that which muscle is the best candidate for the system of the feedback.
Yes, okay. But the thing is that, so can you just click on any of the of, let's say, slide number 27, and then click on
Can you say again, Desmond?
no, so can you click on slide number 27?
27.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I understand, Surapong. So you're saying that yes, she's now looking at the
Maybe this one is a best candidate.
Yes.
Yeah, this
yeah.
one.
Okay, correct. So you're saying that you are looking at the see which one, which parameter or which analysis method is the best for the provision of biofeedback, right?
Yeah.
Or is it okay? So now you see, we look at your RMS. You look at the first
Double support.
yeah, this one, right? Okay. Okay, so this one, the trend is going down. This is a time domain, right?
Yep.
And then you come to here, this is also, so now that I look at this one, this is the, you're saying this is the frequency response, right?
Right.
So the trend is also going down. But then when you look at your single stance, single support. So over here, this is going up, right? But
Yep.
then now your frequency response is going down.
Yes.
Correct. So which one is the correct one, or both are the same?
Strength กับตัว frequency.
Right.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because the medial gastrocnemius, the muscle will activate during the single support in normal subject. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. But in stroke patients, this
Oh no,
in
this
this
one I understand. Yeah, this one I'm saying that I'm okay
okay.
with the trend.
From
Yeah. So why
from
is it
the
that yeah?
yeah
So
from
now
the
okay, go ahead.
okay, but from the frequency is contrast, right?
Yes.
Yes, because the frequency could be represent
Firing.
the motor unit firing rate. Yeah, the number, the amount of motor unit that supply to the
Okay.
muscle. So
All right.
this way, the stroke, they like take time to support. Yeah, and like the
Maybe the number of the filing unit. There is some problem in the stroke patient, right? This one maybe in the normal they have 10. For the normal, maybe the motor unit maybe firing about 5. That enough to perform that activity. But in the stroke patients, they lost and they have just only 5, and so that means this 5 should be harder work, something like that. That's why the frequency. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good. So I think maybe I'm not familiar with the frequency the frequency domain of the EMG. So we have that correlation in terms of the firing units. Yeah, I think that is good in terms of showing the effect, or the difference between healthy and the stroke patients.
Yeah, we try to explain in the physical meaning also when we see the result, in order to easy to understand what happened. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. So that means so you're saying that your Nu is going to graduate next week, is it? Or next month?
This semester.
This semester. Okay. Right.
Okay.
So that means that you still have to write up your thesis, right? Yeah. Okay. I think, Shabang, I guess definitely this is good work. Should actually aim must publish this work, right?
Just because I have to close the scholarship for her. That's why I need to publish.
Yeah, understand. Well, I guess it's really, the thesis is one thing. Of course, you can write as much thesis, but as we all know, it will be research in the university. I think it's the journal papers. I guess you get more readership. Yeah.
Thank you, Desmond. I think it's 4 p.m. right there. So
yes, it's 4 p.m. in Singapore.
Right. And I think we don't need to take your time more than this. So we can do later. Yeah, because you have another meeting or another.
Yeah, correct. Because I need
to
need to have a meeting in the hospital. So I need to go to Singapore General Hospital.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Desmond, for today's. And I hope that we will have like this again.
Sure. I guess as I said, this is a formal one. I'm definitely glad to kind of meet up and then discuss. But after that, yes, let's continue with follow-up discussions. Yes, especially for TAR. I guess there's still more data and more work you need to do, especially for PhD work. I think for Nu is that I think yes, your data results is there already. It's really for you to write up your thesis and also the journal paper. Yeah, that's great.
Yep, and I hope that we can get published together on this work.
Well, I mean, yes, I'll be glad to help in this, and also in terms of the writing, all those things. Yeah, so let's publish together.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much, Desmond, for your time.
No problem. Okay. Hey, Shrapong, thanks again. So I need to make a move now. So we catch up again.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
Catch up again.
Have a good weekend.
Right, okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.